Hey everybody, it's Tim with 716 Outdoors. If you saw our last episode, you'll see that I ended up getting a deer yesterday. So, heading up to Franklinville to see our friends up at Maple Ridge Meats. And we're going to be going over a breakdown of a deer and go into the processing, and we'll let you see a little bit of the services that they offer up there at Maple Ridge. So, come along for the ride and see how a deer goes from the field to your freezer. All right, here we are, Maple Ridge Meats. It's going to be at 8269 Route 16 in Franklinville. Just look for the big skeleton. So here we are at Maple Ridge Meats. This is Dylan Howard, master meat cutter. So, Dylan, tell us a little bit about what you do up here at the.
Well, people bring their deer in, and do you want me to show you the skinning area?
Yeah, we can take a look there. Yeah, we can start right out through there.
Hey, baby. People bring their deer in here, and they go right up onto the skinning sled, and one of our many skinners will peel the hide off. This winch right here rips it right off, and then it goes onto one of these rails. We keep them in order. Every deer has a name tag on it, so we know whose it is. And then somebody picks it up, usually me, bringing it right in through here. And it goes onto the block. So your order sheet, where you tell us what you want done with your deer, comes with it. And then we start to cut it. So the first thing we do is we take off any excess fat that's on it, because deer fat doesn't taste the greatest. Take this front shoulder off. Any big pieces of meat off the rib cage, as long as they're nice and clean and the customer's done a good job gutting, we can take those off and throw them right into the lug.
Now, how would you say the customer did with this one?
This one on the inside looks pretty good. We got a little bit of blood clot in there. That's not a big deal. Blood's not the issue, it's guts. So guts, food from the stomach, poop, and most importantly, what will spoil a deer faster than anything is leaving the bladder. Some people call it the piss sack in here. And if that leaks out, it's just gonna make your meat rancid. It'll turn green in a day or two. So also from skinning, you get a little hair on, it's unavoidable. So we take a torch and we burn that hair right off. And that seems to do a pretty good job. So all along while we're going, we're taking the big clumps of fat off and throwing them in the garbage. Any bloodshot like this, we're going to try to not take too much meat. We just take the garbage and leave the good. And then I'll come back for it. At the end. So then, once I've trimmed all that off, I like to find the hip bone here. It's sort of like a diagonal bone going like that. I'll take my knife in there. And then I'm going to run my knife along the spine. Right up the neck. Unless they want a neck roast. If they want a neck roast, I don't want to cut that. But today, this customer doesn't. I'm trying not to hit the windpipe, first of all, because there's a bile sac, not a sac, but a tube, the esophagus I think it is, right behind the windpipe. So if you hit that, food's going to come out. We're getting any big chunks of meat that we leave behind, throwing them in the lug. This is usually a good time to grab some of this brisket meat, rib cage meat, if it's not too fatty. Throw it in the lug, big chunk there. Just grabbing it as I go. All this stuff adds up to the yield. So then I like to run my finger between this membrane and the back strap. This is what everybody wants on a deer, is the back strap. And this usually comes right off with your fingers. And that gives me a chance to get my knife under there and go after this rib meat. Now on a real lean deer, like this one doesn't have much fat on it. He might have been fighting a lot, getting a workout in, he burned a lot of his fat off. You can save some of that meat. I don't go between the ribs. I really don't think it's worth it. We can debate about that, but I personally don't think it's worth it to go between the ribs.
Have you ever tried to cut into like a spare rib type?
Some customers have asked for that, for me to basically leave all this meat on the ribs and cut it. And the problem with that is, typically on a good shot on a deer, you're going to shoot right through there.
Right.
And it's not just the hole that you make with the gun or the bow. That blood and that bruising is going to go out in all directions. So depending on where you shot it, that's almost never going to be good stuff.
Right.
Like on the perfect shot, heart and double lung, it's going to be bruised, it's going to be bloodshot, and typically it's going to be full of fat too. So now that back strap's completely revealed. I'm going to go in, and all I'm doing at this point is cutting a few pieces of meat, and it falls right out. I'm not going to drop it. I use the edge of my block as like I don't know, I bring the knife and the meat down below the plate of the block all the time. It seems to help me. So there's your back strap. It's not trimmed yet, so we're setting that aside. I do all my trimming at the end. So now we're going to take this hind quarter off. Some people will take the meat off while it's still on the deer. I don't do that. I'm going to come over here. I like to cut like this. So there's a T-bone here. There's a bone in there that looks like that. And then this hip bone that we've already talked about is here. I like to draw a smiley face from the hip bone down to the T-bone. See that smiley face? Then I can pull that meat up and really scrape the bone, making sure I'm not leaving any meat behind. And I'm not going to hurt that tenderloin because I'm not going to run my knife in there like that. If I run my knife in there like that, I'm going to hurt the tenderloin. So it's like this. Up over the T-bone, drop down over the other side into the pelvis area. And we've revealed, if you shine the camera in there, we've revealed that hip bone. Now I bring it over here And all I do is just cut it loose. Whole hind quarter comes right off. Now is when I go for the tenderloin. Most people pull their tenderloins out first. I like to get everything away from them, just being careful not to damage them. And then I can go in just like this, and I've got all the room in the world. I think you can get a bigger tenderloin this way because you can make sure that you don't leave anything behind. There's your tenderloin. That's the most tender piece of meat on the deer. We're going to trim that up later too. Now I flip it over and we do it all over again. Start by trimming our fat. Some butchers have the luxury of bringing their deer in and it's still hung up in the air. So they get to take pieces of it off before it ever goes on the block. I don't have that luxury yet. So all my work is done with the deer laying on the block. So some of my process might be different than others just because of that. Because if the deer is hanging, you can take the front quarters off while it's hanging. You can take this skirt meat off while it's hanging. I don't have that luxury. So now, this side has some skirt meat. So I'm not going to damage the back strap when I come in here for it. You see, I've just revealed the back strap. I haven't cut it at all. Make a turn, ride that rib down. So now, on a lean deer that they've done a good job gutting, you can save some of this. This isn't all waste. Some processors will have the skinners take it right off and throw it right away, right when they skin the deer. I like to leave it on because I think that there's a lot of times you can save some of it. Maybe 3 out of 10 times you can save a big chunk like that, and it can go in for grinds. Again, we're going to take this front shoulder off, same way we did last time. I haven't started boning these quarters out yet. I just throw them to the side, and I come back through and I do those later. Glob of fat, we're grabbing that stuff as we go.
That was pretty nice shot placement right there too.
Yep, that was a good shot.
I'd have to say that the guy that shot this one did pretty good.
I don't know who it was, but I guess he must have got lucky.
Yeah, I think there was more luck involved in that guy's hunt than anything because he's not the best deer hunter in the world.
It's me. Blood shot off. Not too bad, not too much damage on this deer, so Tim's giving himself a hard time, but no, he did all right. Trust me, a lot dirtier and a lot nastier deer have come into this shop than this. So now we're going to do that again. This is great. Get a picture of this because you can actually see this bone. On the other side, I just told you where the bone is, but you can actually see it on this side. I don't know why it's different, but it is. So we're going in kind of at a double diagonal, so diagonal this way, but we're also diagonal that way. Not leaving anything behind, none of that back strap. Keeping the meat pulled up so that we aren't leaving any on that spine. Obviously, I'm right-handed, so before on the other side we took that neck meat off from this side, but I'm right-handed, so I switch it on this side and we take it off from this side. There's a lot of spiny bones in there that are hard to get around. You just kind of have to keep moving your knife back and forth. And we're not going to puncture that windpipe. We're going to leave all that garbage right in there. Grabbing that brisket meat again, shaving that right off the rib cage. This stuff's maybe not so valuable. A lot of fat, a lot of bloodshot. I'm going to throw that away. Again, running my finger between the membrane and the back strap, pulling that off. Personally, it helps me trim it and get this last little chunk of meat here that I like to get off. We're gonna not take that bloodshot with us. That's garbage. There. All right, now we're taking that back strap off. Just cutting it loose. smiley face, not damaging the tenderloin. Come up over, make that turn, shaving the pelvis, reveal that hip bone again. See it? Right in there. Flip it over. There's a little tendon right there. Once that's cut, it usually falls right out. We grab that tenderloin. That second tenderloin is the last thing I take off of the rib cage. And I'd call that one done. There's not a ton of meat left on that at all. I would challenge you to get 1.5 pounds of meat off that if you sat here for 10 minutes, picking piece, little by little piece off of that. I'm going to start breaking down these quarters and getting the cuts out of the rear. Try to clean up all that blood. Okay, breaking down the hindquarters, kind of my favorite part. I don't know why. All that hair off. I start by cutting that Achilles tendon. I just make a little scratch pass along that bone, and then I break that. I cut that off. I flip it up. I go right to the left of the kneecap. I start the cut, but then rather than move my knife, I lay the hind quarter down to make that cut. Flip it back up. There's a big tendon in there. You can actually see it right there. You see it?
Yep.
It's tough to cut, so I actually go in like this, and I use leverage to help me cut it. I'm just walking that meat off the bone. This is the shank meat. Pull. And then I'm pulling it down off the femur around that joint, and I go a little on that side and a little on that side. Now the only thing holding that meat on there is the femur. I go on the kneecap side of the quarter, run my tip. I can feel my tip along that bone. I pull it down, and I want to feel my knife go under the kneecap. I work it through, and that kneecap should stay on the meat, not on the joint. I just work these little passes around the bone. Whoop, sorry.
That's okay.
Pick the bone up, keep working it around the bone, and liberate that bone from the meat. Again, I challenge you to get any sort of meat off that. As clean as it gets. This is your sirloin tip. A lot of people call it the football roast. Leaving a lot of that meat back there. Just pulling the football out, and then we're going to cut that kneecap and that tendon right off. Throw it away. That needs to be trimmed up. There's a bunch of kind of loose meat here. I take that off. I check it for globs of fat, and there is lymph nodes in here. So we always want to get those lymph nodes out in case, you know, they're a little swollen or something. But that's pretty good right there. I put that in for grinds. I'm pulling the top round off of it now. Cutting some of that globs of veins and arteries and fat. There's also like a little cap on here. Sort of scratch at that. Peeling that top round. That gets set aside for trimming. So now, this is that shank meat that we cut off first. A lot of people, your home grinder, your KitchenAid grinder, it can't handle that, but my big giant Hobart can. So some people, you'd have to either throw that out or go through and take all the sinew out of it. On a big grinder, you really don't have to. this is your eye of round. So on a cow, that would be about that big around, and that would be your eye of round. I really don't do much with this unless the customer asks for stew meat or jerky meat. But if they don't ask for that, it gets ground up. Again, we're pulling this fat off. This is your bottom round. Okay, there's your three main cuts on a deer. Well, you got your backstrap, tenderloin, sirloin tip / football, top round, bottom round. Front quarter, it's all grinds. It's very sinewy, silver skin. We're cutting all this garbage off. Throwing it away. This is a big pocket of fat. Even a lean deer will have this pocket of fat on it. And in that pocket of fat, sometimes there's meat on the outside that you can take off and keep. But inside that pocket of fat is always a lymph node.
Oh.
See that? Now, if a deer is sick or has an infection, that's going to be swollen. It's going to be, this is a healthy one. It's going to be swollen. It might be green. It might have some stuff leaking out of it. This is a healthy deer. Doesn't have anything wrong with it. So, on the front quarter, we've got a bone in there shaped like this. It's like it's a T-bone, but it's a long T-bone. So I find that ridge, and I start pulling that meat off there, all the way to the joint. I turn my knife sideways, and till I get to the edge, and then I drop back down, and I pull that off the edge. That piece of meat right there on a cow would be called a mock tender. It's just grinds for a deer. Here you have another cut that you could get if you wanted to. If you're some old school deer cutters, this would be sort of like the butcher's prerogative. I'm not big on venison, so I really don't eat it. But I know guys that will pull this out right here. And you would, there's a membrane, the start of it here, and you'd shave this side off, and then you'd go over here and you'd shave this side off. That's a flat iron steak. So for most customers who just want 2 roasts and steaks, I'm grinding it. So grab that meat, and I want to get around the joint and get to the bone. I come down here, there's a kind of a weird shaped bone. I come around that side, flip it up, go down the other side, scratching and scraping that center bone the whole way. Get around that joint and pull it right off. Okay, that gets cut up for grinds. It's shank meat. Not a ton of value there. Well, I mean, it's valuable for ground, for sausage, for snack sticks, hot dogs, stuff like that. There's just no real cuts in it. More shank meat. Okay, so now this is the back side of that ridge bone that we just cleaned this side of. I like to come in like this, get a piece to pull, and then I'm scraping that bone. Getting all that meat off. Again, nice and clean. No chunks of meat left on that. Good to go. So now I'm going to go a little faster. You've seen me bone one of these out already.
Now, if you don't have some guy with a camera getting in your way, how long does it usually take you to take a deer from, whole carcass to
ready to package?
Yeah.
Last time I timed myself. My sister and I were racing. She's quite a cutter herself. 14 minutes.
Wow.
Now that's a breakneck pace that you can't maintain all day. I'd say if I'm relaxing and having a couple beers while I'm working, I'm going to be cutting probably 2 an hour by myself. If I've got a partner, we can do that about 4 an hour. And if you're absolutely cutting as quickly as you possibly can, 2 guys can run 6 deer an hour off this block. It's just kind of the cap, I think. can only go so fast. I can maybe get that number down to 12 minutes if I change some stuff. We are working with our process a little bit.
How long have you been doing this?
This is my 5th year. I was a butcher for the grocery store here in town for a while, but as most people know, butcher shops, meat departments, I guess I should call them, they're not really butcher shops anymore. They don't get big cows in and break them down anymore. They'll get a package with a top round in it. They'll get a package with a bottom round in it. So basically everything that I've done to this point, butcher shops, typically, again, meat departments, aren't really doing that anymore. That's being done in a big plant somewhere, like IPB, places like that. Another bottom round, and my front quarter. Get a little bit of meat off. If you're going to see, there's the lymph node again. I'm taking this blood shot off.
Hey, Daddy.
What's up, baby?
I'm still hungry.
Okay, maybe Jess can get you something. Maybe you should ask her.
Please can you get me something?
That's Princess Dolly,
I'm still hungry.
princess of the meat shop.
No,
That's what she calls herself.
I want those. Those are yeah.
See how I use the edge of that block to like drop my knife below the plane? I like to cut over the edge. It just seems more convenient to me. I really can't explain it. What's Armin need? Oh, okay. Okay, so that's the breakdown. So now we're gonna trim. So I like to get a real sharp knife for this. The sharper the better. And I need a tray. So this customer wants back straps left whole, tenderloin, or well, we put that on there. If the customer tears them up while he's gutting, it'll say tenderloin's damaged. If they gut shot the deer but they don't clean it out good enough, and there's guts and poop and stuff on it, it'll say tenderloin's damaged also. So you got to be really diligent to get your tenderloins. I will not give people dirty meat back. So I like to take this sirloin tip and sort of trim a line across it. So then I take it 1/2 at a time at that point. And I'm trimming all this silver skin off. A little bit left there. We're just trying to take as little meat as possible with that. That's why the knife's got to be so sharp. If you got a dull knife, you tend to trim a little heavier, just because you're working so hard to get the knife through the meat. Some kind of junk there, arteries and stuff. And that's pretty handsome looking roast. Football roast, people call it. Onto the tray. Again, line down the middle. I'm always cutting really close to my hands. It's just something you got to get used to. You cut yourself 1,000 times and you'll get used to it.
Builds up calluses.
It does, and character too.
Yeah.
It ain't gonna hurt you none.
It's like I always say, it only hurts till the pain's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody will hurt themselves in here and I'll ask them if it hurt right away. Another trim. I like to square the ends off. Lets it cook more evenly that way. 2 footballs. And then rest steaks. So then our top rounds, trim them up pretty much the same way. Top rounds tend to have a little bit more junk there towards the, this is basically the butt cheek here of the deer. Little gouge there. Okay, flip it over. This is your big artery here. We got to go a little deeper to get that artery out. Every top round's got one of those, even on a cow too. So, got a little junk in there. Try to clean that out. Now we're going to cut steaks against the grain on this one. In piece, throw it away. There's your little top round steak. Nice looking. Again. Little nick there. Don't know where that came from. Maybe when they were cutting the pelvis or something. I keep forgetting this is your deer. Hate to blame you.
Hey, you know.
Little crap in there.
The funniest part about all this was that it had been so long since I had actually gutted a deer.
Needed a
I had
refresher.
to, you know, luckily I had Greg and Mason right there to be like, no, cut here, do this. And we forgot my good knife. That was because I have discovered that it's bad luck to carry a knife with you in the woods.
Is it?
For me, anyways.
Oh.
So
Again, these top round steaks. Pile them right on top of each other so the person who's packaging knows what they're dealing with. Silver skin. Cutting that silver skin off, trying not to take it much. It looks like a lot, but really that's not a ton of meat that came with it. And it doesn't matter anyway because it's getting ground, so it's not like you're really losing it. And I do grind the silver skin, like I was saying. Square it off, flip it over, trim that side. Okay, and then this one, I'll do more like a London broil. I'll just leave the knife rested on the block, and I'll cut it lengthways. Giving you 2 nice London broil. That's cut with the grain, but when you grill it and you cut it to eat it, you're cutting to eat it against the grain. So it's still a nice steak. That's a bottom round steak. One more. Square it off. Again, just cutting that nice, long, big steak. 2 of them right on the tray. Backstrap. Everybody wants to know about the backstrap. So I start with the meat side. So I think of it like there's the meat side and then there's the silver skin side. I start with the meat side, cutting that bit there. I'm not only cutting, but I'm making it nice and smooth, shape-wise. Come over here, get that tail off, back in like that. Nice long cuts. They look nicer that way, not jagged cuts. Then we're going to turn this up on end to get that silver skin. There's a really thick piece of silver skin, so it's actually kind of hard to cut through, which works to your advantage when you're trying to cut it off. You can ride the knife right along it and take very little meat off there. You can actually see through it a little bit. This is a precious cut of meat, so we're being very careful to leave as much on as possible. And there, that's a trimmed back strap. Now, if they wanted butterflies, you'd turn it up like that, and you'd cut your butterflies, one full cut, one half cut, one full cut, one half cut. And that'd be your butterflies. You could do chops, which is just chop, 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 chop. But most people prefer to leave it whole, cook it on a smoker, roast it whole, whatever. Again, same thing, only mirror image. Nice and clean, up on end, and that knife. Lay it open, go in for another pass. Just little bits here, pick back up. Another whole back strap. Now, the tenderloins. So, if you're lucky, you can pinch here. There's like these pieces of meat hanging off, and there's a membrane there. If you're lucky, you can get under that membrane and just peel off, but that membrane's gone on this one. Maybe the other one will be a little bit better. So we're actually gonna have to trim this one. A lot of times you can just pull that membrane off, and it looks good at that point. Just be real careful when you're trimming them. Just trying to get this bloodshot off. There's a messy spot right there. I wish it wasn't there, but
Yeah.
it is what it is.
We'll blame the guy that shot it.
I don't know if it was him or what, but
Yeah.
So that's
He's
pretty
good at
good.
taking the blame, though.
yeah, we'll put it on him. All right, let's see if we can get that membrane to work on this one. Yeah, it almost worked. Cleaned it up quite a bit. Sometimes you can scrape that off and not take any meat with it, but it's just every deer is different, and you're just trying to get the best you can get, you know?
Right. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of variables that come into this because, you know, the care that each individual hunter is going to take with their harvest and
Every deer is a little different too, you know?
Yeah.
The shapes of their muscles are a little bit different. I mean, they're all very similar, but at the same time, those are those upper loins there. So here you have your lug of meat with the customer's tag on there. Customer's meats never get mixed in my shop. And then we put the tray on top with the carbon copy of their order. If this needs smoked meats, it stays here. If it doesn't need smoked meats, it keeps right on going down the rail. And then I take it on over to the vacuum sealing station, and we'll start packaging it from there.
Now, every cut that you do comes vacuum sealed, right?
Everything comes vacuum sealed. Up until this year, we did 2 bags for burgers. You know, like you get your Johnsonville sausage in. But customers wanted to see that vacuum sealed too, so we're going to do that as well. So everything's vacuum sealed now.
Yeah.
Back up in. Again, you don't have to keep your hand over it so much this time, because it's not pushing those big chunks through. Looks a little nicer coming out the second time, I think.
Yeah.
No, I won't let the doggies eat the meat. So this is a real luxury, this machine here. No hand cranking. It's just hydraulic. You can hear the pump running right now. So then, take a 6x10 bag. I like them the best for burger. And there's a button here that you push with your knee. It comes out pretty quick. Pushes that meat right on out. And they range between 1 pound to 1.5 pounds. I try to make them about 1 pound, but as you can see, it's tough to control the thing sometimes.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful.
I like it. I'd rather, you can turn it down, but I'd rather it be fast than, I'd rather deal with it being fast than slow. Buck? I think that might be the end there. So we'll take some stickers so you know what it is. Put them on all of them. I won't bore you with going through all that. We'll just take a couple of them over to the vacuum sealer and I'll show you how we do that. Throw them up on there. This is a double chamber vacuum sealer. So you've got a chamber here that you can set up to vacuum seal 4, depending on the size of the bag, obviously. And then you set that to go, and you can be working on the other side. These are his back straps that we trimmed up. This is that one of those football roasts. So while that's doing its thing, we're stickering. We're getting ready. We're grabbing the box. Just always, the beauty of these double chambers is you're always moving. You can, there's no wasted time. It goes right over there to vacuum seal the other side. So these burger bags, you vacuum stuff them, vacuum seal them, and I like to flatten them out a little bit. That makes them so you can stack them up in the freezer really nice. Like I said, that's kind of a newer thing we're doing. Most people seem to really like it though. So, there's a nice pull-up box. Whatever boxes we can get our hands on. We love Bluey in this house. So. Back strap sticker. Roast sticker. Whoop. This guy fell down. There you have it. Nice vacuum sealed meat.
Very nice.
All right.
So, what other services do you offer?
Well, we've got a full menu of stuff here. We cape for mounts. We do bulk sausage, which is included in your base cut. So you do Italian, sweet or hot, Polish, breakfast. We'll stuff the sausage into a link for you if you want. And then we start getting into the smoked meats. So the smoked meats, I'm actually making a batch of them right now if you'd like to see. Like here's some bolognese. These are jalapeno cheddar. You can see the jalapeno, you can see the cheddar. Summer sausage bolognese, I kind of call them the same thing, but they are different. These are plain snack sticks here. Those will get cut up into small sticks. And we do hot dogs as well. And then recently we started doing gyros. So we've got beetles in a building out back that clean the heads, and they wind up looking like that when it's all said and done. So we really try to be one-stop shop here. Basically bring your deer and you don't have to take any of it back with you. It's all done right here. So,
Think you'll ever get into actual taxidermy too?
that's being talked about.
Yeah.
We need to send somebody to school for it, or an apprenticeship of some kind. Some kind of building would have to be made for it. But yeah, we're talking about that too. Everything that has to do with your deer, we really want to be able to do it here eventually.
Right.
So like I said, this is year 5, so we're doing it little small bites at a time.
Right.
So we'll get there eventually. Eventually we will not even be in this shop anymore. This is my garage right now. So it works quite well. But as the volume keeps increasing and increasing, we're gonna need a bigger shop. We're gonna need a bigger facility.
Right.
Which opens up even more doors, like a retail space, a place where I'd love to be able to sell supplies to people that do the deer by themselves. So like, just because somebody does their deer by themselves doesn't mean they can't come here and get what they need. Maybe even get their meat vacuum sealed. So So this is my favorite little tradition we do in the shop. Jars of all the stuff we've found in the deer. So obviously we're still in archery season right now, so the only couple bullets that we found in the deer came in during the youth hunt weekend. But you get a lot of rage, hypodermics. These are a couple of fixed blades. It's just, I don't know, it's sort of fun to see what you find in there. Like even that knock and fletching there, we found that right inside of a deer, and that's just a piece of the grinder that broke off. These are from years past, so this was 2023. Quite a few bullets. That was in the windpipe of a deer, fixed blades, stuff like that. This was the year before, this was 2022. This is my sister Morgan. She's going to have that all packaged by the time we get back from the beetle barn.
Yep.
This is the beetle barn. Built this out of rough cut stuff. I'm not the best builder in the world, but it hasn't fallen down yet, so that's good. And this is Jess. She does the Euros for us. She's peeling ahead right now. And this is the freezer with all the people that are waiting to go into the beetles. This is what it looks like after Jess is done peeling them, pulling the eyes out. We blow the brains out with air pressure. So that one's ready to go into the beetles. Everybody has a name tag on it. Oh, there's some smell here. You can't see it on the video, obviously, but they definitely have a certain smell to them. I got a light in there, but the beetles do not like light. So we only turn the light on when we're looking at them. You can see them just eating and cleaning that head. Go ahead and get that down in there. Just doing their work. That's what we hired them for, was to eat. Got fresh air coming in on this side. And then a dryer vent to try to keep the smell down in here. What do you think, Jess? Keep the smell down pretty good?
Yeah, that works pretty well.
Now, what's the temperature and humidity and everything have to be at for them to be
So
optimal?
The humidity, this thing doesn't really do anything because the humidity, it's getting to be winter time, so it stays low all the time. I've been told they like about 40% humidity. It's down to 32 right now, but unless I put some kind of water or steamer in there, I really don't know how to get the humidity up in there. But that fan is set to cool to get the humidity out. So, but the temperature, they like it right around 80 degrees. It dropped a little bit when we opened the lid, so it's trying to climb back up right now. Those are infrared light bulbs that don't put off any light. They just put off heat. So, and we also keep this blanket over. So after they come out of the beetles, excuse me, Jess, let me grab one of them behind you. After they come out of the beetles, they look like this. Nice and clean, but there's some discoloration. There's still a beetle in that one. You see it right in there?
Oh, yeah.
So from this point, they're going to get soaked in a degreasing solution for a couple days to draw some of that grease out of the bone marrow. And then after that, they will go into a pot of boiling water and hydrogen peroxide, and that will bleach them to dead white. And at that point, they're done. So the beetles just kind of do the hard work of cleaning the skull, but we still have to whiten it. You see all that color. We're going to get rid of all that and bring it to bright white. So, yeah, a little bit more head storage here. Got the ones that Jess is working on in there, and the ones with not so many antlers so they can fit in that freezer there. Excuse me, Jeff.
You're good. All right. We're going to do a little race. Morgan versus Dylan. So, we're going to have the timer. We're going to have each of these cut and see who gets the deer done first. So, on your mark, touch knives, get set, go. So Dylan, if anybody ever had another animal that they wanted to bring to you to have you take care of, like a cow or pig or anything like that, would you do that type of work?
I do cows fairly frequently. Pigs, I actually haven't done many pigs. I have done elk. I have done moose. What else? Anything else?
Chickens, but we don't like it.
We don't like doing chickens. We don't do no chickens. Everybody wants their chickens done. Don't have to. It's messy. It's shitty. It's feathery.
They're gonna lose a little bit of meat on this one because of this bloodshot mess.
Looks like that was from a 50 caliber bow.
You're all revved up anyway. You have like a warm up this morning.
Like I said, it's easy to make excuses. It's not easy to make results. Morgan has been doing this for 5 weeks. She needs to give herself a freaking break.
But that's 2 expert cutters.
Less than 16
Less than
minutes.
16 minutes right there. And that's 2 deer ready to package and go right into the freezer. So that's going to be 2 very happy people in 15 minutes.
I mean, packaging can take just as long as that.
Right.
With one person on the grinder, one person on the vacuum sealer. So basically double that for the entire process, and that's basically how we do it here.
Yeah.
It's hard to maintain that pace all day, so
Yeah.
Right.
so we're not running that way all day,
Right.
for sure.
Now, how many deer in the 5 years that you've been doing this? How many deer have you done?
Personally,
For a whole season.
for a whole season, we're up till this point we've been about a 300 deer a year shop. We're really hoping to get up higher than that. Every year it grows a little bit. So.
Well, so that's going to do it for this episode of 716 Outdoors. Thanks again to our friends up here at Maple Ridge Meats, and we're gonna go put some more meat in the freezer now.
Yes, sir. Get out there and kill another one.
Yeah, well, I'll hopefully have another one, and Mason's behind this year,
Is he?
so he hasn't got one yet. So,
Okay. Isn't he the lucky one typically?
well, yeah, Mason usually gets a deer every year, but I'm the expert hunter this year, Mason. So you're losing. So, but
Hey there.
we'll see you on the next one.
Drop